Greetings, our guests. My name is More Nyazungu, the Chartered Vendor. This is the Chartered Vendor podcast. That's where we discuss everything about business, what is happening in Zimbabwe, in Africa as a whole. We are discussing as we're going deeper into business. We'll be talking about the events which are happening in companies as you are trying to build our economy in Africa. So today I'm hanging out with Mr. Tamuka. It has been long. He was in Zambia. He was discovering Zambia. Tamuka, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jerry. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Tell us what was happening in Zambia.
A lot. It's been a month.
Yeah.
And you actually find it's a great environment.
Okay.
If I may say, it's a lovely environment, lovely people, wonderful people, a lot of money to be made.
Okay.
Which actually makes it, I think we can classify Zambia as one of the best economies in Africa right now.
Okay. So tell us, what about, what do you want to say to someone who is probably contemplating in setting up a business in Zambia?
My advice to someone who wants to set up a business in Zambia is that you should go as soon as yesterday.
Okay.
Because one of the things that's there is you actually find that Zambia is, we can actually say it's more of virgin territory, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Because it hasn't been explored.
Okay.
You have a market whereby, if you are looking at the market in general, there are very big players, and then there are very, very small players at the end of the day. In the mid, if you're actually looking at the SME market, it's not as developed as you can actually say we have in Zimbabwe. Whereby, I think in Zimbabwe, you throw a stone, most likely you're going to hit an entrepreneur. That's the environment that you have
exactly.
here. But in Zambia, it's different. To actually say that there is an opportunity for expansion, and you actually find that, and there are also problems that are there to be solved.
Yeah.
So whenever you have a problem,
I also noticed like what you're saying, to say probably when you're looking into construction or probably into consultants, we've got only big 5 or big 6 accounting firms. Then there are not even any firms, medium firms, they're not even there.
Exactly.
We only have the small firms, and these are one-man band, 2 people trying to do something, and these guys are even operating from home. I think I still remember when someone wanted a quotation for a software, because this company, it was a school, and they said they wanted 3 quotations.
3 quotations.
We ended up actually doing all the quotations ourselves because we failed to look for a competitor. They had already paid us, but they said for them to actually sanitize things and do what is supposed to be done in their system, they had to have 3 quotations, and they failed to get any player in that kind of industry. So that's Zambia for you. In Zimbabwe, you can get plenty of those.
You can get plenty of
But why do you think probably, because I still remember, if you notice, Zimbabwe was called on, I think Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi was, I think Zimbabwe was Rhodesia.
Yeah.
This was Northern Rhodesia.
Northern Rhodesia.
Then Malawi was
Nyasaland. Yeah.
I think
the federation.
It was the one federation.
Exactly.
Where do you think is the difference? Like probably in terms of Zimbabweans appreciating more in terms of entrepreneurship, and Zambians, they are a bit laid back, or is it because of the economy? Is it because of the policies that side? What do you think?
Okay, I think if we're actually looking at why Zimbabweans are more entrepreneurial, one of the things, ask most Zimbabwean entrepreneurs who went into entrepreneurship, in most cases, if you ask them, they actually say that it was the only option for us.
Exactly.
We had no...
Even for me. Yeah. There was no option.
Exactly. I actually find that a lot of Zimbabweans would actually say that it was the only option that was there, and they ended up going into entrepreneurship because of that. But now you look at Zambia, because yes, they fairly had their challenges. I think if we were to look back some 15, 20 years back, they had issues to even do with their currencies and runaway rates. And
we used to laugh
like
at Kwacha,
exactly.
And they would actually term, if money doesn't have power, I would say, why do you want to give me Kwachas?
Exactly.
But currently, I think the tables have turned.
The tables have turned. And if we are speaking of the Kwacha, right now as we speak, is the second most powerful currency in Africa. following the puller.
And at one point, it was actually the strongest in Southern Africa.
In Southern Africa. So right now, you're actually looking at saying that you have the most powerful currency in Southern Africa. I think right now the kwacha is trading at 16 to the dollar. And just last week, it was actually trading at 19 to the dollar. It actually means that over this last week, it has gained massive value at the end of the day. So Zambia is an economy, it's actually an economy that's been offering opportunities to a lot of their people. And one of the things, even in terms of the transformation that has actually happened, you actually, if you go in Zambia, one of the things that I noticed, there are a lot of universities that are there. So even in terms of the labor force, they actually find that exactly it's educated. And most people would actually want to say that, okay, I don't want to go into entrepreneurship, I want the opportunities that are there, which then leaves us entrepreneurs to be able to come in there and to create those particular opportunities. Because at the end of the day, we'll be solving a problem, the problem to actually avoid and avert unemployment that's there. So that's one of the differences that are there between the two.
Even when I think when I went there in May, I've been traveling to Zambia, I think for the past years. I've discovered that in Zambia, most of the people, they actually communicate in English than using their local languages. That's probably it's because they've got 72 local languages in Zambia. Hence communication, you need to communicate Bemba and Nyanja. Sometimes they're supposed to speak in English. I think that's their main advantage. Whenever I try to recruit people, you're never going to say this person is never going to be able to communicate with clients. It's very easy because they're fluent in terms of English. They're more educated than what I thought.
Exactly. Because even if you look at the case of when it comes to issues to do with literacy and everything in between, I think Zambia is ahead, way ahead of a lot of African countries. I don't want to be politically incorrect, so I'm just going to say in terms of a lot of African countries.
Are you tempted to say that even better than Zimbabwe?
A lot of African countries. Because even if you look at it, I think one of the biggest telling signs of any people is how they behave on the roads. At the end of the day, it's basically one of the biggest telling signs that are there. You actually find that in some countries, especially in my country, there's an intersection where you can wait to be given way for 5 minutes. In Lusaka, you don't face that.
Do you have to wait to be given way, or you only pass through whilst there are no vehicles coming from the other side?
Exactly. You have to demand your right of way.
But in Lusaka, I noticed that they give way for everyone. If you just say
there's no congestion, nothing like
everything, they drive, the way they drive. I think we've got a lot to learn from the Zambians. Shout out to Zambians, my brothers. My second home, these guys are doing great. That's why I say to myself, even, I'm tempted. I'm always tempted to say, I would like to live in Zambia, probably to set up my house or live forever in Zambia because of the way they operate their things. The way especially on the road. I think that one is a plus for any investor.
It's a plus. It's a very serious plus. And one of the opportunities that are there, especially for entrepreneurs who are looking to get into Zambia, because one of the things they've done so well is decentralization. They've
100%.
That has actually been done so well, because you actually find that if you are in Zambia, as compared, let's maybe say, to our local country, you actually find that in Zimbabwe, in most cases, if you are starting a business, you need to be in the CBD to be able to access the markets, to be able to do a lot of things. Especially if you are studying maybe in a manner whereby you don't have any means of transportation, that is you have to be in the CBD to get anything done. But now Zambia was, in terms of decentralization, they've decentralized. So you can start your business, and you actually find that even if you're looking at most settlements that are there, you look at a place called Kabulonga, you look at North Mid, you actually find that all those places, there are actually malls that are there. And at any
And
particular
not Kwame Moz.
Exactly. No, very serious
for the
moves.
sake of our viewers, sometimes they will think that.
Yeah. It's very serious moves.
Yeah, these funny moves which are in Harare.
Exactly.
These are real moves.
These are real
with
moves.
supermarkets, with everything.
Exactly, and you can access any
banks,
service.
you can access government offices.
Exactly, and banks they close.
Actually, we're talking about that.
Yeah.
You said banks are closing at what?
It's 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Banks are closing at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Zimbabweans, banks in Zambia are closing at 7 p.m. Here we are closing them at 3 p.m. Are we serious as a country? I think we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot.
I think we talked about this issue again last week when we're talking about decentralization of the city.
Yeah.
And I think the city council have tried to put these one ways. They've tried all means. But what I think is like what you've rightfully said. The only way to decentralize the city is about putting a lot of malls outside the CBD, and CBD, also convince these major players or major business to be in the CB outside town. Like for example, you look at Edgar's. Do we have any branch? Do we have any Edgar's branch which is outside the CBD?
No, I think the only one is Westgate, but apart from that, there isn't.
But we should be having Edgar's probably in Semi-Levy.
Exactly.
You see? Exactly. So that is what is there in Zambia.
Yeah.
If you look at our ZIMRA, ZRA, in Zambia you can pay your taxes anyway. You can pay your NAPSA anyway.
Yeah.
But here now, so in this era of technology, in this era of having a lot of construction being done, why can't we still have our malls? Huh?
Exactly. And also, just to highlight, was one of the things that you're looking at was it's not something that applies only to Zambia, but to most of our African countries. Most of our African countries, they are developing, they are still building at the end of the day, which means that there are opportunities that are there for entrepreneurs. Any business, if you have any business, regardless of the industry, you can succeed in Zambia. Like I think initially, even at the beginning of this conversation, you actually highlighted that you have a few companies that are actually dominating the sector, and there aren't a lot of entrepreneurs giving competition to these companies. You go to car space. I think in Zimbabwe, if you're actually looking at Zim, you can point maybe 4 or 5 players that are actually dominating that industry.
Exactly.
In Zambia right now, as we speak, there is only one player that is dominating that industry. You go to fast food itself. In Zimbabwe, you can list, I think we have Simbisa, we have Eat and League, we have Mambo's. There are a lot of these companies,
KFC,
and we're giving these companies free advertising.
Exactly, they should pay.
They should pay us. But you go to Zambia, I think right now the dominant player in that particular industry it's only one company, Angry Lion. You actually find that it's not even a Zambian company.
Exactly.
Because I was actually surprised. They say that okay, this company is dominating, but it's not a local company. That is there. So you then find that it's also even an opportunity to actually say that okay, if the food market here, the fast food market in Zimbabwe right now, it's being saturated. We cannot deny that. Was I think we were reading in 2022, Simbisa had a target to open 96 new outlets. This year it's actually even more. I think they're targeting 112, 115 new outlets. So you then find that if you're an SME, let's maybe say you're a small entrepreneur, you don't want to start with 96. Maybe you want to start with 2, you want to start with 3.
They want to compete with someone 96.
With 96, it becomes difficult. But why not say, okay, instead of actually trying to compete with 96, why can't I explore another market? Because at the end of the day, I think if you're looking at the African Union, they introduced that on the African Free Continental Trade Agreement to actually say that Africa should be trading as one economy. And one thing about Lusaka, even if you look at Malawi in itself, if you're walking in the streets, it's impossible for someone to actually identify that this is a Zimbabwean. They actually assume that you're Zambian at the end of the day. The only difference that's there between Zambia and Zimbabwe is the language.
It's the language, yeah.
And the currency.
Those
are the only 2 key differences.
Even the culture, the food, the way they behave, everything is almost the same.
It's the same. It's an economy that actually feels like home. But we're actually saying that for Zimbabwean entrepreneurs, you shouldn't let this chance pass you by. To actually say that because it's about expanding, and you cannot build $1 million business in one economy. That's impossible. Look at all our billionaires. Strive Masiwa right now. He's operating out of Zimbabwe, he's operating out of the UK, he's in the Netherlands, he's in Zambia, he's basically everywhere at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you look at any billionaire, one of the things that you actually notice, even most millionaires, you actually notice that they are comfortable to go beyond the comfort zone. Because if you are operating in Zimbabwe only, yes, you are in your comfort zone. But we're actually saying that you should even be comfortable to go outside of the comfort zone to actually say that how can I explore other economies for
Yeah,
growth?
that's true.
Yeah.
As you hear that from our expert, the guy who is actually operating from Zambia, running M&J Zambia, Tamuka, is actually saying you cannot be a billionaire if you're operating in one economy, which is the truth. I think Dr. Strive Masiwa has been mentioned. And he also said you can feel at home whilst you're in Zambia. The only difference is the language, the food, the ladies, the business, everything. Tamuka seems is enjoying Zambia. So let us ask him more questions after the break. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let us see each other after the break. Welcome back as we are discussing about investing in Zambia. This is a show which is brought to you by the Chartered Vendor, and this is the Chartered Vendor podcast. So we're talking about investing in Zambia. Yes. So remember, it's called one Zambia. Is it one people, one nation, one Zambia?
One Zambia.
So
yeah.
So why are we mentioning Zambia deliberately? What I also think is, especially myself, I was thinking that it's not only our duty to go and do business in Zambia, but my vision is also to say, how can we also get into Zambia, teach Zambians about entrepreneurship, make them also join the bandwagon. I think that's another goal, which because I have noticed that they are not entrepreneurs at all.
Exactly.
But we need to also show them the other side of entrepreneurship. Exactly. Like I think even the president himself, President Hakainde Hichilema, is an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
And I think he's tried his best by actually setting up a Ministry of Small to Medium Enterprises, whereby he's trying to say you can also make Zambians entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
But besides, what are the, in terms, I think most of the people would like to understand, what do I do when I want to register a company in Zambia? There's probably someone wants to set up a company right now. They're interested. They'll get in touch with you. We'll actually put your details in the comment section. But what can they do if they really want to set up a company? They want to be assisted in investing in Zambia.
All right. So if you want to set up a company in Zambia, because one of the most amazing things about the economy is that it's favorable to investment. And one of the biggest telling signs that an economy is favorable to investment is how easy it is for you to actually get to set up a company. There aren't a lot of bottlenecks. So you actually find that if you want to set up a company in Zambia, you have two options. The first option is to set up your company as a foreign subsidiary, whereby you're actually saying that you have a company that is operating in Zimbabwe and you actually want to extend that particular company into Zambia.
Okay, just more like a branch.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's actually more like a branch setup that you can actually do. And then the second option that you have is you can actually set it up as a local company in Zambia.
Okay.
Whereby you are setting it up as a limited liability company. That's a company that is limited by shares. But if you're going to be setting up a local company in Zambia, one of the things that you need to note is that for every director that you are going to have, a foreign director, you also need a local director in Zambia. Okay. That will actually be working on your behalf in Zambia.
What about the shareholding?
So in terms of the shareholding, if you want to own 100% of your company, you're able to own 100% of your company in Zambia. Okay. So at the end of the day, what you need is you actually need to look at the directors. So if you're looking at the directors, let's maybe say for every let's maybe say you have 5 directors that are coming through from Zimbabwe. It actually means that you would need 5 directors from Zambia.
Okay.
If you have 1 director coming through from Zimbabwe, you need at least 1 director from Zambia.
Okay.
So for every foreign director that we have, you also need a local Zambian director that is there.
Okay.
So the first step, there are basically 3 steps that you actually need to note when you're setting up your company. The first step is for you to actually do a name search. So if you're going to be doing a name search, what the name search is actually done through the basically the Patents and Company Registry Agency, which is shortened for PACRA.
Okay.
So you submit your name, and then as you submit your name should actually be unique. So if your name, let's maybe say you want to go there, and then maybe you want to open Hungry Lion Investments, it's not going to be possible because there is already a Hungry Lion in
so
Zambia.
You need another name.
So you actually need a unique name that does not exist already in Zambia. So when you are submitting, you have an option to submit 3 names, and then once your name is actually approved, there is a form that you need to fill, which is actually called the PACRA Form 3, whereby that's where you actually put information on the directors, that's where you actually put information on the business, what the business is actually going to be doing and everything like that. And then once you've actually filled that form, you submit it to PACRA, and then the form is reviewed. As soon as the form is reviewed and your company is actually out, you then get to actually receive your certificate of incorporation as well as your certificate of share capital, which is basically the process of registering a company in Zambia. So there are some instances now where you're actually saying that if you're coming in as an investor, for example, you might actually need to then look into having an investment license, which is actually issued through the Zambia Development Agency. So it's the equivalent of ZIDA.
It's also called ZIDA that side.
Yeah, it's also called ZIDA that side. So you have the Zambia Development Agency, and you also need an investor's permit, which can actually, and for investor's permit, I think the key thing is to actually provide proof that you'll be bringing at least 250,000 into the Zambian economy. And then one of the things that will happen also is that if you're going to be taking employees from Zimbabwe or from any other country into Zambia, you also need to apply for employment permits.
Okay.
So that's generally the setup that is there. And now depending on your industry as well, there are some, let's maybe say you're into mining, you actually need to go also through the Zambia Miners Federation for that. If you're into farming, you also need to also go through the Agricultural Society. So there are also these other agencies that can then get to issue additional licenses for your business. But that's the general process of the setup.
Okay, that's pretty much. So as you can hear, I think there's nothing which can actually stop you from investing in Zambia. Zambia is now a destination where you can go and actually set up a company. Who knows? Probably you can make a better company in Zambia. Probably they're going to like your products and your services better than they are doing in Zimbabwe, better than they are doing in Botswana. We're not only saying Zimbabweans can invest into Zambia, but we're actually saying everyone, international investors in UK, in Australia, in several countries, China, Indonesia, we need you to be in Zambia. What about the infrastructure? Tell us, you're talking about the malls and you're talking about infrastructure. I noticed that Zambia has got more than 30 malls in Lusaka right now. Alone. And I've also noticed that even the road network has been developed very well. In terms of, you don't see potholes in Lusaka.
In Lusaka, it's impossible.
It's impossible. So that's how they've managed to invest into their infrastructure. I think thanks to the government that side, even the previous government which was there, has worked very hard into doing that. So are there any other things which people might want to expect from Zambia? What about the political environment? How is it? Because most of the investors, they're afraid that when you invest into a country, sometimes if there's a change of policy, policies are always changed regularly. It means investors might lose. How are investors protected in Zambia?
All right. So in terms of investor protection in Zambia, because one of the things that you're looking at is that, like what you correctly highlighted, you say that the political environment of a country is the most important indicator when it actually comes to guaranteeing the safety of capital at the end of the day. And one of the things that you look at is that Zambia, in 2021, they had elections. They actually elected not only a new president, it was actually a new government.
New government, yeah.
Whereby there was actually a shift from the Patriotic Front to now the UNDP that is there. So one of the things, and they actually find that even for the current government, that's the thrust that's actually there is to actually say that we need to keep developing the country. So you actually find that they've also been enacting policies that help investors at the end of the day. Like currently, let's maybe say if you have an investment license, you're not limited in terms of repatriating your profits to your home country, at the end of, which is something that is very important.
Okay.
Because if an investor puts money in, I think one of the key questions they'll ask is to actually
how
say
am I going to get
how am I going to actually
profits?
get this money out? How am I going to
true,
get my profits out?
Yeah,
So you actually find that if you have that investor's license, in terms of profits repatriation, you're not limited at the end of the day, in terms of repatriating your profits. And also, one of the most important things is you're also looking at the currency. Because if you're looking at the currency, at the end of the day, you need a currency that can even work internationally at the end of the day. And one of the things that's the kwacha right now, it's very powerful. At the end of the day, it's very powerful. You get your money, you want to use it maybe to make your online payments, to actually pay suppliers that are based in China. You're actually able to do that using the kwacha and the local
banking system. They're still using checks.
Exactly, they're still using checks. That's that's the biggest indicator. They actually find it's not strange to actually hear someone say, "Okay, let me write you a check," and you go with it to the bank.
I think most of our people in Zimbabwe, from 1990s thereabouts, they don't even know a check.
They don't even know a check. They don't even know it. I might actually have to confess that I held my first check when I went to Zambia. Before I had actually not. You just hear that there used to be checkbooks.
An ATM.
Exactly.
I made my last $1. Most of the 2000s, 1990s, late 90s kids, they don't know how to operate an ATM.
And you know, in most cases, they don't even know that you can actually deposit money using an ATM.
That one is even Greek to them, yeah.
Exactly. So you actually find that for investors, the political environment is very stable. And the good thing also is that even if you're looking at the case of leadership, you have a leader who's also an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
In a way.
Yeah.
So in terms of actually understanding, in terms of business, and it's good. It's good at the end of the day, because you actually find that I won't mention the actual companies, but it's good. You have to come.
You have to come. So that's interesting. So yes. We're talking about Zambia. We're talking about how you can invest into Zambia. Zambia is just close by. I think it's less than 500 kilometers from Harare to get into Lusaka. And it's only, I think, around 300 kilometers to get to Chirundu. You can even drive. It's so easy to get into Zambia. Drive, get into Zambia, see what's there, see how the people are going to treat you, from the police officers to the general populace in Zambia. When they hear that you're from Zimbabwe, they're actually excited, to the contrary to other countries which are actually hostile for other nationalities. So Zambia is a place to be. If you are not in Zambia, I'm afraid you are being overtaken by events. You need to start investing into Zambia. And remember, M&J Zambia is there to assist you to establish your business in Zambia. If you've got everything which you want, don't hesitate to contact myself or to contact Tamuka, who is our strategist, our business development director, and also representing us in Zambia. So one nation, one people, one Zambia. Until next time, today I was not hanging out with Steve, but I hope you'll be back next week. Thanks. Bye-bye for now.